Hey everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and this is a Sweet Stuff Saturday. Real quick peek. Working on a crawler course over there. Thought it was going to rain on 4th of July. We had no entertainment for boys, so we worked on that. But today, it's a quick video looking at 3 different knives. There's actually 4 edged tools that are going to be showcased here. I'm really excited about these 3. I like all 3 of them for various reasons, but the one I'm most excited about is not on camera, and we'll leave that to the very end. So let's talk about this. 2 of these are pretty cheap. One is the Knife Center exclusive Kershaw Mini Skyline, and I can't remember. I paused because I couldn't remember. It's either black wash or black stone wash, something like that. Coating. That's this knife. The other is the Kvist knives invert, and then the third is the Benchmade full immunity. This is not a cheap knife. I think this knife was like 45 bucks. It runs D2 steel. Like the original, it has a liner only on one side. It has the blade shape and the flipper that you're familiar with. This one, however, is not 14C28N. It's D2. It is overseas produced. It runs on bearings, and it has a deep carry over the top pocket clip. It's a good knife. I wish they would have carried over 2 things from the original. I like the 14C28N steel much better than D2. And I really kind of missed that weird, funny clip. That was a cool clip. It was unique to that knife, and I always like the unique clips. But this clip works fine. The D2 is okay. 45 bucks, it's not bad. It is a good flipper, and it's super thin. This is in for review. We'll take a look and see what we've got. The next knife is a little bit more expensive. I think this was like 70 bucks. It is a micarta and 14C28N Kvist knives. He's known for his swaybacks, where this is a straight edge and it has the swayback handle, and the handle actually looks like that with this cutout down here. And then the blade, it's actually looks pretty much exactly like that with the cutout on the other side. This is the invert, and it is a drop point blade. It is a full flat grind 14C28N. It is relatively thin. The knife had some blade play issues when I first got it. I tightened up the pivot and they're gone. It's a deep carry over the top pocket clip. This is one of those knives where it doesn't do anything flashy, but it hits all the marks. I like the knife a lot. It is also in for review. I'm interested to see how this one comes out. It is surprisingly heavy, and I think that's because it has full steel liners. They are nested, so you don't have to deal with the steel on the handle, and the micarta feels pretty good. It's getting that micarta E feel, or micarta E look up here. I could always oil it, but we'll let it go. The last one is this knife. The last knife, but not the last edge tool. It is this knife. This is the full immunity. This is $274. It's M4 steel. It's got some pretty sophisticated machining on the aluminum handles. It too had blade play. I fixed the blade play. No blade play now. Not a big knife by any means. So the Kvist invert is a 3-inch blade. This is like well under a 3-inch blade. The Mini Skyline is a 2.8-inch blade, and so this is like right around 2.4 inches. Really sophisticated sort of EDC gents knife, kind of like not fancy enough to be a gents knife really, but like it's like a high-end EDC. It comes with the lanyard. The lanyard is actually pretty nice. The deep carry pocket clip is good. The lockup, once I fixed it, is perfect, as are almost all the Benchmade axis locks post the bug out. Not the fastest to deploy in the world, but that's probably because it's pretty tiny. It does have an exposed rear tang, which I do not like. But the grip on the handle is really great. I love this Crater Blue color. It is not in for review. I just got the knife in a trade, and I really like it. So that is the full immunity. M4 steel is like one of my favorite steels. It probably has to be coated if you want to carry it in an environment where there's any humidity. But man, look how cool those handles look. Ooh, they look good and they feel good. I'm not a huge fan of the full scallops. I wish this was just like straight cut off right here. But, you know, whatever. It's okay. Not the end of the world. This is a pretty expensive knife for what you get. I mean, M4 is not the most sophisticated steel in the world. But that leads to this. This thing is enormously heavy for its size. I'm gonna move this back so you can see. Yeah, so this is a number 4 or number 5.5 jack plane. I needed one plane. I do not want to have a bunch of planes. I do not want to get into hand tools. Hand tools are expensive and slow, and the thing that's the biggest limiter for me in terms of woodworking projects is time. So if I had to take things and make them slower, it would not work at all. So this last year I made my son a desk out of walnut, and there was some slight cupping when I did the pocket screws. And as a result, there was a tiny little bit of a hump in the middle of the desk, and it drove me crazy. And I wanted to sand it away, but it was just, you know, walnut's so beautiful, and I didn't really want to sand it. But I ended up sanding it because I didn't have an alternative. If I would have had this, I would have been able to do that faster and different, and it would have produced a more beautiful surface. The surface now, it looks gorgeous, but if you look really, really close, you can see some swirl marks, which are not my favorite. So that was the first time where I was like, you know, I wish I had a block. I wish I had a jack plane, but I didn't have it, so whatever. Then we were getting ready to paint a shed out back, and there was lapped boards for siding, wood siding, and a couple of them had sort of rotted away, so we were replacing them, and they didn't sell the lapped fencing. They didn't sell the lapped boards anywhere. So what we did was we bought some pressure treated fencing, which you can see right here, and we cut off the end because it was the right thickness on the bottom. And then what I wanted to do was I wanted to plane it so that this side, the side we tucked up under the other one because it's lapped, would be thinner than the side on the bottom. Unfortunately, I didn't have a plane. And what I ended up doing was making a giant freaking mess, as you can see. Look how much sawdust. So I just sanded it off with my belt sander, but it made a giant pile of really nasty, disgusting sawdust, which I haven't taken care of yet. But if I would have had this guy, it would have been totally different. So if you're not a woodworker, what a plane is a way of taking to reduce the thickness of a board. And the way that the plane works, and the reason why it's in this is because it's covered in like just absolute nasty, like that kind of goop. So I haven't had a chance to clean off the goop because I just got it. But what it does is it holds this. This is the iron, and this is the chip breaker. This is the iron. It holds this flat piece of metal at an angle, and as it comes across the board, you use this really heavy cast iron body to hold the iron at an angle, and it takes off just the tiniest, thinnest bit of a shaving. And because it does it with a really nicely sharpened piece of steel, it doesn't leave the marks that a sander would. And because you can control the pressure by putting more force on the front or the back or both, you can get, you know, shavings, you know, as thin as you want if you basically use no pressure, just glide it across. Or you can like really hog out some material if you need to. Before we had jointers and planers, every board had to be thicknessed and flattened with a plane of some sort. So this is a number 5.5, and the numbers describe the size of the plane. So number 5 would probably be like right here. And the reason why I got a number 5.5 is because, well, primarily because Rob Cosman recommended it. Rob Cosman's like a famous YouTube woodworker and instructional woodworker who uses mainly hand tools. But Cosman's argument was basically that you get everything you need out of a number 5, but that extra length, which gives you extra weight, can help you do other tasks. So you can use it as on a shooting board, which is a way of squaring up the ends of boards, and you can use it on other kinds of operations where the length will help you flatten something more evenly. So his recommendation was, if you're going to get one plane, get this plane. And so I did. This is actually a Wood River number 5.5 version 3, and it's from Woodcraft. The plane itself weighs like almost 9 pounds, which isn't a ton, but it's really, really stout. The plane body is cast iron. The handle, or the knob and the handle, are rosewood, and then the blade itself, I believe the blade is A2. That's what I think the blade steel is. I'm not 100% sure. But it's a high carbon blade steel like A2, if it's not A2. Lee Valley runs a steel called PVM 11. It was a steel that they claimed was exclusive to their planes. I think they may have even claimed it was exclusive to them. But that steel is a powder steel, PMV 11, powder metal variant 11, I think is what it stands for. This is not a powder steel, but you can get planes in all sorts of sizes and configurations. You can get little tiny block planes. You can get big number 8 planes. And number 8 would probably be like that big, maybe a little bigger. This thing wasn't inexpensive. This thing was basically like the cost of a Sebenza before the price raise, but you're getting a lot. I mean, you're getting a precision machined body and the blade steel. It's a really nice plane. It's well made. It you know, like if you treat it right and you don't let it get super rusty, that thing could last, 150 years. Easy. Like, there are lots of planes that are still in work today that are 100 years old. This part, the chip breaker and the blade, they're all sort of standard sizes. Once you get up to a 5.5, a number 5.5, they're all the same width and thickness, so you don't really have to worry about it. The smaller planes, they have different sized blades, and so like, you have to get a blade specific for your plane. The number 5 is called a jack plane. This is where the phrase jack of all trades comes from, because the number 5 plane was small enough to do block plane type operations, but it was also big enough to do operations like the number 8. The number 5.5 is a little bit bigger than the number 5. There's actually a 5.25. But the number 5.5's size gives it, like I said, a couple of advantages over the number 5. The number 5 plane from Wood River was like $250. This one was like $325. So if you want to go like Cadillac, you can get like a Lie-Nielsen, and the Lie-Nielsen, I think in this size, was like $400. The 5 was $375. It was $425. Just a really interesting old-timey tool that people still use today, and it does something that you really can't, like the 2 operations that I was looking at, it just does it better than any power tool. And so I'm not opposed to hand tools, but I'm not going to do a hand tool just for the sake of doing old-timey stuff. I want it to actually do something, and this one complements the tools I have, and it does something that nothing else I have does. So that's the 4th edge tool. That is why this is a pretty sweet stuff Saturday. And thanks for the appreciating and being patient through the detour into the other areas of Edged tools.